Welcome to Microeconomics, Shaping Decisions, Shaping Lives. Microeconomics helps us understand individual choices, market forces, and the policies that shape industries, from the price of your coffee to global government decisions. This video will unpack these core principles and demonstrate their impact on our everyday lives. This program is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team as part of the Economics Education series. Chapter 1 introduces the building blocks of choice. Every economic system, regardless of complexity, starts with a single decision. In this part, we explore the foundational concepts that explain how individuals, households, and firms think, choose, and respond to the world around them. Microeconomics is the branch of economics that studies how individuals, households, and firms make decisions and allocate scarce resources. Unlike macroeconomics, it focuses on the mechanics of specific markets, prices, production choices, and the behavior of individual actors. Key areas of focus include how consumers and firms make decisions, how markets reach equilibrium, and how government policies alter market outcomes. Incentives are the engine of economic behavior. Price signals coordinate millions of decisions without central planning. Governments use designed incentives like taxes and subsidies to influence social outcomes. However, poorly designed incentives can lead to unintended consequences, demonstrating the importance of understanding second-order effects. Supply and demand are the market's pulse, defined by three core concepts. The demand curve shows how quantity demanded falls as price rises. The supply curve shows how higher prices incentivize more production. Equilibrium is the intersection of these two, determining the market price and the quantity exchanged. Adam Smith's invisible hand describes how self-interested decisions by buyers and sellers, guided by prices, lead to outcomes that benefit society as a whole. Supply and demand curves translate this abstract idea into a concrete tool for predicting market behavior, giving economists and policymakers a precise model. Consumer surplus and producer surplus capture the total welfare generated by a market transaction, a key metric for market health and policy impact. Consumer surplus is the difference between what a consumer is willing to pay and what they actually pay. Producer surplus is the difference between the price received and the minimum accepted. Together, they equal total economic welfare. Deadweight loss, or DWL, is the portion of total welfare permanently lost due to a market distortion like a tax, subsidy, or monopoly. It represents beneficial transactions that never happen because of the distortion. Minimizing DWL is a central goal of good economic policy design. The smaller the DWL, the more efficient the policy. Price elasticity measures how sensitive consumers are to price changes. High elasticity means a small price change significantly alters demand, as with luxury goods. Low elasticity means demand is less responsive, as with necessities like insulin. Elasticity also determines who bears the burden of a tax. Chapter 2 explores the government's role in the microeconomic landscape. Markets are powerful but not perfect. We will examine the conditions under which governments intervene and the tools they use, ranging from taxes and subsidies to regulation and antitrust law. Governments intervene to correct market failures, which occur when the free market produces inefficient or inequitable outcomes. Market failures include public goods, which are underprovided due to the free rider problem, natural monopolies, which can lead to excessive pricing, and externalities, such as pollution or vaccination benefits, where costs or benefits spill over to third parties. Governments use a rich policy toolkit to address market failures. Tools include taxes and subsidies to internalize costs or support valuable goods, regulation to set minimum requirements, and antitrust laws to prevent monopolies and protect competition. Each tool involves trade-offs, and the best choice depends on the specific failure and market elasticity. A case study on pollution control illustrates government intervention. Pollution is a negative externality. Governments can use emission standards, which are simple and enforceable limits, or carbon taxes, which price pollution, encouraging cost-effective reductions and innovation. Both approaches internalize external costs and move the market toward the socially optimal production level. Taxation has a significant impact on economic behavior. Direct taxes, like income tax, reduce disposable income. Indirect taxes, like VAT, are embedded in prices and affect both consumers and producers. Tax incidence, or who ultimately pays, depends on supply and demand elasticity. Governments use this insight to design taxes that minimize distortion while meeting revenue goals. Subsidies are government payments or tax reductions designed to encourage the production or consumption of socially valuable goods. Agricultural subsidies support food security. Renewable energy subsidies accelerate the shift away from fossil fuels. Electric vehicle subsidies lower purchase prices, making clean transportation more accessible and competitive. Price controls set the market's pace. Price ceilings, like rent control, set a maximum legal price below equilibrium, potentially leading to shortages and black markets. Price floors, such as the minimum wage, set a minimum legal price above equilibrium, which can affect employment, particularly in high-elasticity labor markets. Microeconomics helps policymakers understand these trade-offs. Chapter 3 focuses on microeconomics in action, real-world impacts. Theory gains meaning when applied to real-world scenarios. This part examines landmark cases where microeconomic forces and government responses significantly impacted the lives of millions. The California electricity crisis of 2000-2001 exposed a flaw in market deregulation, where retail prices were capped but wholesale prices were not. This allowed energy traders to manipulate the market. The lesson is that poor market design in natural monopolies, combined with emergency price caps, can distort long-run investment signals. Microeconomic analysis of welfare reform highlights the balance between providing a safety net and maintaining work incentives to avoid the poverty trap. In public school finance, the reliance on local property taxes creates inequality, where wealthier districts generate more revenue, widening the educational gap. Microeconomic tools help inform solutions like state equalization funding. Global warming is a negative externality, requiring efficient policy solutions. Cap-and-trade sets an emissions cap and lets markets set the price. A carbon tax prices CO2 directly, creating a stable signal for clean technology investment. International agreements face a prisoner's dilemma, requiring global cooperation to prevent free riding. Health insurance markets suffer from asymmetric information, leading to adverse selection, where the sickest buy insurance and drive up premiums. Government responses include individual mandates to broaden the risk pool and guaranteed issue rules to prevent coverage denial. Each intervention addresses a market failure, but involves cost and access trade-offs. Quality daycare is a merit good, often underconsumed due to high costs, leading to workforce and inequality issues. Student debt grew due to government-backed loans guaranteeing access, but also contributing to tuition inflation. Unlimited subsidized credit shifts demand, often enriching institutions at students' expense. Tax policies wield immense power, with effects that ripple through the economy. Taxes impact individual savings, business expansion, and overall economic growth. Microeconomic models trace these ripple effects precisely, informing smarter tax design that minimizes distortion. Mass transit pricing balances competing goals, maximizing ridership, managing congestion, and ensuring equity. Flat fares are simple but regressive. Zone pricing reflects costs better but is complex. Peak pricing improves efficiency by smoothing rush hour demand. Chapter 4 moves to advanced concepts and future directions. Modern microeconomics uses sophisticated analytical tools, from game theory to dynamic modeling, to power rigorous policy analysis and economic forecasting. Game theory analyzes outcomes based on the choices of strategic decision-makers. Applications include the prisoner's dilemma, explaining difficulty in enforcing climate agreements, analyzing oligopoly competition, and designing efficient regulatory mechanisms like pollution permit auctions. Behavioral economics challenges the assumption of perfect rationality by documenting systematic cognitive biases like loss aversion. Nudge theory uses small changes in choice presentation to guide people toward better outcomes without restricting freedom. Framing effects show how choice presentation influences decisions. Computable General Equilibrium Models, or CGE, simulate an entire economy to capture how policy changes in one market ripple through all others. They are the gold standard for analyzing major policy shocks like trade agreements, tax reforms, and green energy policies, used globally by major institutions. Dynamic modeling incorporates time and expectations. Static models offer a snapshot, while overlapping generations, or OLG, models analyze intergenerational equity, such as pensions. Dynamic Stochastic General Equilibrium, or DSGE, models forecast long-term policy impacts by incorporating uncertainty and feedback loops. Calibration involves setting model parameters to match observed data. Validation tests whether the model accurately reproduces historical patterns. Sensitivity analysis checks how much results vary when assumptions are changed, ensuring that policy recommendations are credible and actionable. The economics of deregulation centers on efficiency versus protection. Proponents argue that regulations raise costs and stifle innovation. Critics caution that deregulation, without careful market design, risks removing necessary safeguards, as seen in the California electricity crisis. The microeconomic challenge is finding the right balance. Deregulation presents both promise and peril. The goal of policy analysis is not to maximize or minimize rules, but to get it right. This means removing inefficient rules while preserving those that correct genuine market failures. All policy decisions must be driven by evidence, not ideology. Chapter 5: Shifts to Microeconomics in Your Life. The same principles that govern national policy also explain your daily choices. This section brings theory home, showing how economic concepts apply to personal spending, career decisions, and purchasing habits. Your daily life is governed by budget constraints. When prices change, your constraint shifts, forcing explicit trade-offs. This results in the substitution effect, switching to cheaper alternatives, and the income effect, where higher prices reduce your real purchasing power, making you effectively poorer. A budget constraint graph plots all combinations of goods you can afford. Its slope reflects the opportunity cost. Analyzing this constraint helps reveal why you make the financial choices you do, and how those choices could potentially be optimized to maximize your utility. Goods are classified based on how demand changes with income. Demand for normal goods increases as income rises. Demand for inferior goods falls as income rises, as consumers switch to higher quality substitutes. Understanding this distinction is key to explaining consumption patterns. Your labor decisions involve key microeconomic choices. Labor supply involves trading work for leisure, influenced by wage and tax rates. Human capital investment, like education, is an economic decision to forego current income for higher future earnings. Your wage reflects your marginal product of labor. Microeconomics helps us understand prices around us. Gas prices are determined by supply factors like OPEC decisions and demand factors like seasonal driving. Produce prices are affected by harvests and trade costs. Every price is a real-time summary of global economic information. Microeconomic literacy empowers you to make informed decisions. It enhances personal finance choices, helps you evaluate policy proposals by looking past intentions, and contributes to more informed democratic citizenship. Chapter 6 provides the conclusion, the microeconomic compass. We step back to assess the full power and limitations of microeconomic thinking as a guide for policy, business, and personal life in an increasingly complex world. Effective policy requires rigorous analysis. Start by identifying the market failure, then design an intervention to correct it with minimum distortion. Evaluate the trade-offs between efficiency and equity, and finally, monitor and adapt the policy based on real-world outcomes. Microeconomics provides powerful tools for market analysis and policy evaluation. However, it is limited by the rationality assumption and struggles with complex social behaviors. The right approach is to use economics as a powerful lens, not a crystal ball, combining it with humility and ethical reasoning. Microeconomics acts as a compass, illuminating trade-offs and revealing consequences, but it does not prescribe political goals. It ensures our collective decisions are grounded in reality. Policy guided by microeconomic analysis is consistently more effective, equitable, and accountable. From individual choices to national policy, microeconomic forces are constantly at work. Key takeaways include that markets fail in predictable ways, interventions must be evidence-based, and concepts like incentives and elasticity are vital tools for evaluation. Literacy in these areas empowers better citizenship. Thank you for viewing this video. Microeconomics is a powerful lens for understanding our world. We encourage you to keep exploring, apply these concepts daily, and ask, what are the incentives, the trade-offs, and who bears the cost?